This gentleman to my right, he's got one of the most challenging jobs in the entire city. And then when you throw on top of it a mayor who wants to keep Sioux Falls moving, it makes it even more challenging. If you remember a couple of years back, I had approached Heath and Mark Cotter and the police team, and I encouraged them to evaluate all the traffic lights that we have in our city. There were times, especially late at night, when most of us were sleeping, where we still had these lights, these red, yellow, green lights. Where we became a bit frustrated is when they turned red in the middle of the night, and we'd look both ways, nothing's coming. We look both ways again, still nothing's coming. But yet that red light just still stayed there in South Dakota, in Sioux Falls, and we really struggle with that. And yes, this mayor did too. So I'd encourage Heath, as well as others on the team, to look at our red lights in town to see if we could keep Sioux Falls moving and have them ultimately flash instead of just being a solid red. And thanks again to their work, they made that happen all over this great city. So Heath, thank you. However, as you know, I still think we're capable of more. And Cindy and I were actually just a couple weeks ago, we were going on a trip out of town. It was an early morning flight, and it was as dark as can be. It was quiet as can be. And we're driving down the road, and what were we doing? Stopping. Waiting for the light to turn red, or to turn green. And we waited and waited, no traffic, and yet we still could not proceed. And to me, it made no sense. And so I did reach out to Heath, and I said, Heath, come on, buddy. We got to be able to do more to keep Sioux Falls moving and still, yes, keep our citizens and our community safe. Heath tried to explain this to me in terms of when you have these dual turns, these dual lanes, and how you do have to be more cautious. But Sioux Falls, to Heath's credit, to the public works team's credit, and to the police team's credit, we have found examples all over town, and we're going to continue to work for more where we can keep Sioux Falls moving and ultimately have these red lights, instead of them being solid red, at least flash into a blinking red, or maybe even a cautionary yellow. So that's what this is all about today. And I can already hear cheers going up all across the city. Because, again, we want to keep Sioux Falls moving. Ultimately, we want to keep us safe. But I don't know many people who like stopping at reds, especially when there's no traffic. And it's in the middle of the night. So, Heath, thank you on behalf of the City of Sioux Falls. Please explain to the people, what are we doing here? And why are these two good examples of what you've accomplished?
All right, to get to the details of what we're doing, we have, over in the city right now, we have almost 270 traffic signals. It's about 200 of them that are flashing at night now. There's about, of the ones that aren't flashing, about half of them, about 35 total throughout the city, have situations where we have the dual left turn lanes, and that's the reason that we aren't flashing them. So we've started to look at these intersections and analyze what's going on, what type of geometry is present, what type of crash history do they have, and how much traffic is present at the intersections too. We're looking at a lot of different factors like that, and we're trying to identify locations that we can go and start testing out going to flash at night. And there's about 30 of them that we're looking at right now, and the two that really stuck out are these two intersections of J.C. Lane and Minnesota Avenue and Benson Road and Minnesota Avenue, because both of these intersections are T intersections, and the approaches that have dual left turn lanes don't have an opposing approach. So they're examples where we're able to really easily implement changes and able to monitor it and check for safety and kind of see how things work. So what we're doing at these two intersections now, the one right behind me at J.C. Lane and Minnesota Avenue, it's going to be flashing yellow on Minnesota Avenue and red on J.C. Lane, at 10 o'clock, starting at 10 o'clock at night, and then it'll be coming out of flash at 6 in the morning. And then at the intersection of Benson Road and Minnesota Avenue, we're going to start out with that intersection. Instead of operating late at night at 10 o'clock at night, it's going to go into all red flash and then come out at 6 in the morning, which it'll be similar to that at the other intersections that we'll do throughout town. Also, there's a couple on Russell and some other locations that we'll be taking a look at and looking to implement these changes to our operations for the dual left turns. And then one other thing with dual left turns, kind of keeping in the same vein, we've been looking at what we can do for operations in the future throughout the city, and we're planning late this summer to be letting a project on Arrowhead Parkway from Gordon Lane, east of the work that was done on Sycamore Avenue, over to a little bit past Highline Avenue, that's planned to be done by the end of 18. And with that project, there'll be dual left turn lanes being added to the intersections of Foss Avenue and Highline Avenue on Arrowhead Parkway. And we're actually going to put flashing yellow arrows, the 4-section signal heads with the 4 left turn signals with the one that flashes yellow at those locations. And we'll run them as protected operation like we would at most dual left turn lanes throughout the majority of the day. But then we're going to, at the period of about 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, when traffic starts to slow down, we're going to turn on the flashing yellow arrows at those locations so that they operate like a traditional 4-section head you see throughout the city, where you don't have to wait for that protected green to make a left turn during those low traffic times to kind of bridge that gap till you get to that 10 or 11 o'clock at night when the intersection goes to flash. So that's some of the things that we have going on for trying to improve the operations for our dual left turn lanes throughout the city.
Are you an engineer?
I am.
Okay. You can tell he's an engineer. You can tell he's a lot smarter than I am. But I think the 7th grade version of what Heath just talked about is that, hey, Sioux Falls, we're trying to look at these dual left turning areas, and where possible, we want to keep you moving. We want, instead of it being a solid red, we want it being a flashing red or a flashing yellow so that you can proceed on to your destination, especially late at night when there's not a lot of traffic. But at the same time, we want to keep you safe, and whether it be our police team, our traffic control team, they'll make that happen. But again, Heath, thank you. And Sioux Falls, what I'd ask you too is that there have been a number of examples of where Sioux Falls citizens have said, you know what, Heath, you know what, Mayor, this just doesn't make any sense. You know, why aren't we allowed to proceed on red, for example, at this intersection, or why aren't these dual left turns? Why aren't we allowed to go when it's at 2 in the morning and there's no traffic anywhere in sight? So Sioux Falls, if you've got those examples, let Heath know, let me know, and we'll check them out.